It's Brandy Nishelby did a video titled White Women Date Black Men, but No Black Friends. Within adolescence, I vividly remember befriending a Caucasian girl that lived in my neighborhood. Every day it seemed we would play outside, most notably riding our bikes together. We were your typical neighborhood friends. Unfortunately, my family moved due to my father's naval career, and our relationship ended. In second grade, I remember befriending a Puerto Rican girl. Her and I were classmates. We were really good friends, quite the same as my Caucasian friend from my old neighborhood, yet I noticed with this friend, she drew more closely to classmates that she perceived as being Puerto Rican. For example, we had a classmate whom was Polynesian, and given her ambiguous phenotype resembling that of a Spanish woman or of Spanish descent, my Puerto Rican friend sought her companionship more than she sought mine. I even acquired a Puerto Rican friend from my previous place of residency where I met my Caucasian friend, and she told me, at the age of 5, she did not like black people. To further the context, her mother was a Puerto Rican woman and her father was a Caucasian man. As I've grown into the woman that I am today, I now understand that this young girl was spewing internalized sentiments that she may have heard from her parental or authoritative influences, but at the age of 5, that was something I can't even really describe. It was a very interesting exchange. And proceeding into my teenage years, when I was a 7th grader in middle school, I attended a predominantly white institution. Upon my arrival to the school, I would sit in the cafeteria, for all students were expected to reside within this common area in the morning. And as I would sit in the cafeteria waiting for the bell to ring to furthermore disperse to my prospective classrooms and/or areas, it was quite visible that I was a new student, given my gesture, mannerisms, as well as my race. It was quite apparent that I was in uncharted territories. Not that I've never been to a predominantly white institution, because my father is in the Navy, so I've been well versed academically as I have been socially, but I was a minority amidst a majority, and it was very apparent because of my race. So it seemed to place a more profound emphasis on how new I really was. When you have a handful of black people, it's kind of hard not to spot the new black girl or the new black boy. I would like to also add that many of the minority children that would attend this school did not live in that given district, yet they were a part of a cross-district program that afforded them their attendance. For myself, I not only attended this predominantly white institution, yet I was also a cohabitant within the nearby predominantly white neighborhoods. And given such an intentional layout, everything was convenient as it was strategically designed. So if you place well within a classist hierarchy, often these affluent children would live in these affluent communities with nearby amenities such as schools and other essential resources. They never had to leave their insulated environments. So given this disproportionate racial diversity and socioeconomic status, the majority of the school was consistent of affluent white youth, and staffing a lot of these affluent families that lived in these affluent neighborhoods, that lived in these affluent communities, attended these predominantly white schools that ended up being composed of affluent white children. Not to suggest that there weren't any affluent Asian children or black children or Hispanic children, but the predominant race was Caucasian. And to further the context of conversation, I would like to add that as a result of these variables, as in the conveniency, the community, the families, and affluency, as a result to these variables, many of the children I encountered that so happened to be Caucasian and of affluency were quite ignorant to various realities given their conveniency due to isolationism. That is also an adverse result, or not even really an adverse result, but a true result of current day redlining. So in navigating and coexisting within this environment, I was never approached or embraced by any of my Caucasian peers, especially of affluency. As I would sit in the cafeteria alone for almost the entirety of the first semester, no one talked to me. No one. I can't say that I was embraced warmly or harshly because I was not approached. Many of my friendships as I would continue my experience would be formed on the basis of my self-advocacy and being proactive. Majority of my friends were white minorities, the rebellious liberal, or the more conservative yet adverse white youth given socioeconomic classifications. For example, I had a white friend that was more voluptuous, thus defying the typical body mass of your average white teenage girl. I befriended a really country, redneck, but not racist white girl, or at least not overtly racist to where I could notice it. I befriended a redneck white girl. I befriended a really tall white girl. She was 6 foot tall and aspired to be a model. I befriended a lot of the outcasts. I was only accepted and spoken to by the white minorities within the majority as a black minority within a predominantly white institution. Yet inevitably, everything that progressively happened was due to my self-advocacy, even with the connective resonance of social media during that time, like Facebook or Instagram. Exclusionary politics prevailed and still prevail. So conclusively, this doesn't even just apply to white women, but it could also be further discussed with white passing minorities, as seen with Puerto Rican women, as seen with even African American women who are lighter complected and they can visibly pass for being another race because of their ambiguity. Oftentimes, more specifically given the context of conversation, I find that I don't have a lot of Caucasian friends because they've never really sought to befriend me. Even when I was in my predominantly white institution, living in my predominantly white neighborhood, they would often seek to befriend or to be in relations with my cousin, my older cousin, or my younger brother than to even converse with myself. And if they were to converse with me, it was only to get with the black men. So oftentimes I just feel like there's a different approach given gender. For black women and black men pertaining to white women, I feel like oftentimes it could be a gender issue where, white women are just seeking to enact upon their fetishization of black men or their romanticism of black men through their close association with black women. So oftentimes, if I was approached by, the affluent white woman, it was only done to kind of reach a cultural connectivity to where she could understand black culture and gain more of an access to that black man that I knew of, so I could place her adjacently to him, if that makes any sense. I feel like certain caricatures, stereotypes imbued the mind to where a lot of white women viewed black women as being intimidating. You have the angry black woman or the strong black woman that places a heavy burden on black women because we are just women. We are not these inanimate objects or supernatural beings, although, everyone has their own theory of what we are and what we can do. And I do believe in the strength given, certain adversities that we were to bear. Like, I get it. But, we're not, don't dehumanize me by calling me this supernatural mystic cocoa butter god. Like, no, I'm sorry. I have to demystify this and say I'm just a regular black woman. And there's nothing wrong with being a black woman, just a black woman, But that was a little tangent. But I feel like oftentimes just given those caricatures and those stereotypings, white women may view us as being more intimidating and domineering than we truly are. So that could be a factor of, just cultural dissonance. A cultural dissonance, I feel, is the reason why a lot of black women do not have a lot of white friends and a lot of white women don't have a lot of black friends.